Welcome, everyone, to episode 143 of 1 Hour, 1 Decision, 1H1D. I am Chris.
And I am Tom.
And we take 60 minutes and play a random game on Xbox Game Pass and decide, well, Tom, is this story from a galaxy far, far away worth our time?
They all are. Oh,
well, we're about to find out there, Tom. As we're going to be talking about Lego Star Wars, The Skywalker Saga by, is it just TT Games, or is there a long form for that?
Traveler's Tales.
Thank you. Traveler's Tales Games. Okay. I was going to always say, like, who are the people that do the point and click adventure? Telltale. I thought it was going to be Telltale. I was like, Telltale?
Yeah, it's not.
Somewhat similar. But this game came out back in July of 2019, and I play this on the PC, 38.14 gigabytes on the PC. Tom, what about you?
It is considerably larger on the Xbox Series S, weighing in at a whopping 45.23 gigabytes.
Ooh, that is quite the unsavings here, which is unfortunate.
It's beefy.
Especially for that Series S, because you know how precious dry space is on there.
It is.
Going to take a big old chunk of there. But what kind of game is this?
I put action-adventure parody, but maybe I should have said parody action-adventure.
Yeah, I think you're right. I just simplified it to just a third-person action. I didn't finish my thought there, but it is a third-person action game. So.
Yes, it is indeed.
Yeah. And there's some humor, which we'll get into. But what about that game loop?
So I put down adventure through levels inspired by scenes from the films and complete objectives to advance the plot.
Fair enough. I just wrote, beat the bricks out of people while you progress story missions. Because that's what you do. You beat the bricks out of them.
Yeah, just wallop them.
Walloping is one of my good things. And so let's talk about those good things here. What did we like?
I was impressed by the level of accessibility options just from the jump. Like, it's dense in there. Yep. Like, you have a lot of flexibility depending on how easy or hard you want this to be. You can turn off all the assists and things that help you in both in, tooltips, but also like aim assist and things like that. So you can really tailor this to whoever's going to play it, right? So if you're a nearly 40-year-old man and you're going to play this, maybe you don't need all the help that it's going to be thrown at you. But if you're a 8-year-old kid, maybe you want all that stuff in there.
Yeah. I could see that. And I didn't even get into that whole accessibility section, but I'm glad to hear that because maybe it'll knock off one of the things I had an issue with in our dislikes. But yeah, I will say also the opening cinematic was quite cool. I liked how they literally walk you through or transition you through each saga of the Skywalker story here. So that was kind of neat, and how they kind of parallel and all that fun stuff. So in Lego fashion.
Yes. I thought that was a really good showcase of like what the game's going to have in store for you.
Right. So good. And I also thought this is not my first time with a Traveler's Tale game. My children are obsessed with these Lego games, but they've been on the other side of Disney where they've been playing the Marvel games. So, and they've been completing those, and just watching them play, you could see how much fun they Telltale has with the properties, and like how the humor that they just inject throughout this. And they've done the same thing here, which, I appreciate. There are definitely moments in there where I chuckled, where it's like, if you open something, like I think there was one part where I was like opening doors with the C-3PO and R2-D2, and then like one of them was just a bunch of stormtroopers in a sauna or like in a hot tub. They're like, oh, wrong place here. It's like, this is not the door you need to be opening, or something like that. Like, kind of a throwback to the Obi-Wan thing. But anyway, so it was just like, it seems like they have fun making these games. Maybe I'll say it like that. So, and for all intents and purposes, the fact that they're literally making the same game but just reskinning it, it's kind of neat that they really would get get some humor in there, keep it
Yes.
fresh in a way.
I was definitely glad for the humor, taking a lot of this very classic, beloved Star Wars content, um, and playing fast and loose with it. Right there are so many Star Wars games that exist
Right.
that if you wanted to just play through, a specific scene of a Star Wars movie, you could pick from a list of games to do it in.
Right.
This is really trying to do it, in a more family friendly way, in a way that has more of a heart to it. I also appreciated, because this isn't even the first Lego Star Wars game, right? They've done a lot of these sagas and time periods already. And I was impressed. I was debating, where do I start, right? Because you can pick which area you want to start in.
Right.
By default, it selects the original trilogy, but you could start with Phantom Menace, or you could start with The Force Awakens.
Right.
You can start at the beginning of any one of these trilogies. And I was impressed that starting with A New Hope, the content was new and fresh to me, who has played Lego Star Wars 1, Lego Star Wars 2, Lego Star Wars 3. So I was like, oh, okay. This feels like a very different game, even though I've done Lego this already.
Right.
So I was just very pleased, impressed by that.
Yeah, and that's why it was also interesting when this game fell on our laps, so to speak, that you never actually played this. I was like, wow, because you've said it before. I think even on this show that if it's Star Wars, you've most likely have played it. Again, I know you said most likely, but it blew my mind that this game actually did slipped your radar, so to speak. So, and again, if you played the others, you're like, okay, why do I need to play this? It's going to probably be the same thing.
I looked at it from a distance and said, Lego Star Wars, I've played a lot of them. This isn't, I looked at it and it wasn't like Lego Rogue One or something like that, where it was like, oh, okay, this is a different content. I just kind of assumed in my brain that it was going to be the same old thing. And I was pleasantly surprised to be wrong. So
and to piggyback on that whole what you mentioned before about how you can it gave you choices on where you want to start, and not just at the menu system. I felt like in the game itself, like when there's certain points in the story, at least in the in A New Hope, when you're playing as Leia, you have an opportunity to pick. Basically, you pick a lane, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like that you have a choice. Like however you do this, that's the path you take. And I'm assuming it probably does that in the other stories or trilogies. And but I thought that was just kind of nice to feel like you have some sort of agency overall in the story. Yeah. Even though what's going to happen, right? In whatever way that Traveler's Tale will do this, but it is still kind of cool. And again, I haven't really played these games. I was actually surprised at how complex and entertaining the gameplay was overall. Yeah. There's enemies will actually block certain attacks, so you have to change up your attack patterns. The puzzles that you have to do every once in a while, they'll just sometimes drop you in a room and you just kind of have to figure it out. And I was like, okay, there's some thought here in what you're doing with this game, not just being funny, but there's some I liked that. I appreciated that too.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I liked that it gave you agency. I liked that the way that it did that, especially in that instance that you're talking about, was basically they give you a bunch of Lego pieces and say, what do you want to build?
Yeah.
So that really works, from the Lego part of this, right? We could talk about Star Wars the whole time, but this is a Lego game first and foremost. And it does a really good job, I think, of showing you, you're playing with Legos the whole time, right?
Yeah.
And I was surprised at how good it looked, right? I think the graphics looked really good. I think the animations were pretty good.
Oh yeah.
For me, because I've taken a step back from playing, Lego games for a while, to me, this was the best looking Lego game I've ever seen, comparing it to especially the older Lego games, which are, old now.
Right.
Like this thing's fully voice acted.
Yeah.
And it has, really like rich kind of environments and then like Lego pieces sitting in them.
Yeah.
So like you're going through Beggar's Canyon and it looks like, the real place in Tunisia,
Right.
and I'm just like, oh, wow. Like this
Yeah.
looks really, really good.
Yeah. The fact that they constructed these worlds in the Lego fashion is just really cool. Like, I hats off to the team for doing all that, because I'm also curious if they actually had like master Lego builders get involved with maybe helping them construct these particular environments, stuff like that. That'd be kind of cool. I'd love to get for Travel's Tale to get to the point of graphical fidelity as like one of the Lego movies into one of these games. I think they're getting close, but
I think so too. I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, for sure. And once they throw Unreal Engine 5, I don't know, some ridiculous engine behind it, and it's just like, oh my god, look at these graphics. It's like,
yeah.
One other thing, of course, this game has co-op. It is 2-player co-op, but it's nice to have that. It's I believe it's couch co-op as well, so that's nice to have, because those are very few and far between now. So good to have that. Indeed. So, anything else you want to bring up? Likes.
The last thing I have here, and you can tell this really just from even with just 1 hour in, is that this game is packed with content.
Oh yeah.
Like there's tons of side missions. There's tons of like mini quests and things to do, like collect these things, build those things. You can see just playing through some of these early levels, like, oh, I'm going to have to come back here when I have different characters and things like that. Like it's almost daunting how much, like if you wanted to 100% this, you're going to be at it for a while.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There is. And they also kind of like tease you with the little, I don't know what they call them. I don't know if there's like the little nubs or something like that are just like laying around, the Lego pieces that you can collect. And then that, they put them in perfect places that you can just see them in the corner of your eye, that peripheral vision. So you're like, oh, maybe I'll just go grab that. And then that leads to more kind of exploration of the area. So good on them. Good on them for that.
They're very good with the breadcrumbs.
Oh yeah. Literally.
Peppering things in to tantalize you to go over to some place you don't need to go right now. But.
For sure. But unfortunately, Tom, we have to go to a place where we talk about our dislikes.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you about one thing I didn't like right from the jump, and that's before I even started the game, I'm being directed to the Microsoft Store to purchase DLC.
Come on, Traveler's Tales. What the heck?
I had to escape out of a prompt that was trying to force me to go buy characters and things for a game I hadn't even started yet.
They should be able to do a check. If game has ever loaded, if there's a save file, then give me this. Else, come on, guys.
Can you let me play a level or two first before you're trying to sell me everything?
I agree. I had a problem in the beginning where it wouldn't. Maybe it's not a thing that happens that often, but where it was forcing me to use keyboard and it wouldn't let me use my controller. So I had to kind of like play around a lot with the like the settings, and then eventually like it found my controller, and then after that was fine. But a little issue here and there with that. And like you touched on earlier with the accessibility options, one of my first complaints was there was a lot of tooltips, and the fact that you said that in the accessibility I could turn those off. So I'm like, I kind of want to just say that there are a lot of tooltips, but
if you don't touch, if you go with baseline settings, you're getting bombarded with things. So
it's a lot there. But at the same time, I kind of understand because this is probably geared more to the younger audience than us older gentlemen, so to speak. So yeah. And the other thing, I mean, I've watched these movies many times before and all that stuff. The fact that I couldn't skip the text scroll.
Yeah, the opening crawl.
The opening crawl. Like, I mean, on the first playthrough, if you save the game, you go back and to your save, you can skip it. But I was like, okay, I get it. I've seen this before. Like not even a speed up option, nothing. It was just like kind of had to watch it through its entirety.
It's the beginning of a Star Wars experience. There's a ritual to it, Chris.
True. Okay.
I will say though, there's some things that bug me. So one of the things that bugs me has to do with like the AI. So like the enemy AI can be like really, really dumb where it'll just so there are moments where it does some really intelligent stuff and that's cool.
Yeah.
But there are other times where the stormtroopers are just standing around waiting to get shot.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't know, there's cover everywhere, guys. Like
Yeah. There was definitely a lot of that. So.
Then I'm like shooting these stormtroopers and I'm like, are they made of sponge? Like I took like 6-7 shots to drop one of these guys. And I'm like, listen, I understand there's, they're enemies and you want them to be a little bit of a threat or something. But like, I've watched these movies. When people get hit with a laser bolt, they go down in one shot. I understand why I, as the hero, don't go down in one shot.
Right.
But
maybe you have to up the difficulty or something. I don't know. Maybe there's an accessibility slider there too.
Wait, but that would be making the game easier if they go down in one shot, right?
I don't know. I'm trying to help you here, Tom. But I will say also what was kind of cool though. I didn't realize that you could actually shoot the helmets off.
Yeah, that was cool.
Which is kind of fun to see that. So, but yeah, I agree. For the most part, they are kind of either like just laser spongy Dumbos for the most part. So it is what it is. But what else there? Switching between the series. This is probably also me being a Dumbo. Switching between the different trilogies I felt like was a bit of a pain. And I guess it was just like I was going into the wrong menu or whatnot, but it was a little like, okay, which way, how do I get to, because I wanted to experience in my hour a little bit of everything. So, and yeah, so it was like, I felt like I had to exit out of my game completely, load back in. And when in doing that, there was like this weird little cutscene with like Rey where she's like, oh, these people have to guide me or whatever. I was like, I had to see that every time I exited. It was kind of cumbersome in that way. Did you play through all you stuck to one?
I stuck to A New Hope because once I realized, obviously I grew up with that trilogy. So when I realized it was sufficiently different from the material I had already played, I was like, okay, I can stick with this and not feel guilty about it.
Okay.
Whereas like I got in there first and was like, let me try this out and see if it feels like it's just the same old thing. I was going to switch and do Force Awakens.
Got it.
But it felt so different and fresh. I was so pleasantly surprised. I was like, I'll stick with this because I know what's going to happen from a plot perspective.
Yeah.
But I want to see how the Lego is, take on it's going to go.
Yeah.
But I will say I did have some problems with the fact that they glossed over Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen's death. Now I get it's for kids, but like they don't even die in this. Like it's just kind of like something happened there. Just move along, kind of thing.
Well, when I played The Force Awakens, the very first scene, I guess whoever Poe was with, he gets flattened by the door from one of the ships. And like you don't see him after, like he's dead. I guess he's dead or something because he's like he didn't get back up after that. So there's some death. So I don't know why they strayed away from that in A New Hope.
It's pretty graphic in A New Hope that his parents get, or his aunt and his uncle get.
Yeah,
they're like smoking skeletons in the movie. It's a bit much.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you don't have to show all that, but you could see some fire or whatever. But speaking of there's definitely some weird things where in A Force Awakens in my playthrough where Poe is like disguising himself, but it's like he's taking the parts from the stormtroopers and stuff like that. So I'm like, am I dismembering these things, these people? And it's like, and sometimes when you shoot them, their heads will be completely missing. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like decapitating, or like I'm just clearly destroying these people in a Lego way. So I'm like, oh, this is pretty dark in a way if you think about it. But I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. But
well, they are Lego games, right? Like from the beginning, the Lego games, like how you show that you beat up or, defeated an enemy is they just kind of fall apart.
Right.
So,
Right. I guess
I
in a
think
way
there's
it's
kind
like,
of no escaping that.
right. Like, I guess in a way it's like the kind of like the Pixar adult humor that's like kind of snuck in where you're like,
Yeah.
oh, all right. Okay. I get it now.
Yeah. Like to a kid, they just took all the Legos apart. But like to an adult, it's like, oh, I just
oh my God.
shot that guy's head off.
That's what I said. But anyway, that's my thoughts here. Any other dislikes here, Tom?
Well, I did have some like technical issues, maybe I want to call them, that I wanted to bring up. So it does this weird thing where like when you finish a level, the level recap is played out on top of like the next scene that you're playing. So like normally when you finished historically, I don't even know normally, right? Historically in a Lego game, you would finish a chapter. It would bring you to like a screen and it would be like, this is the percentage complete. These are the items that you found. It does that, but it does that while it's playing the audio and stuff for the next level that's just loaded. So like it was giving me the recap of the space battle, like Vader storming Princess Leia's shuttle, doing that. Like that recap played on top of the R2D2 C3PO on Mos Eisley, in Tatooine.
I don't think I've had that issue. It definitely seemed like a bug or something that you might have had.
Well, I experienced it. You can watch my video and see it.
Yeah.
Also, I noticed that the camera, when it gets really close to characters, it gets kind of like jerky and it makes it kind of hard to see what you're doing.
Right.
I think it's like trying to be almost like an over the shoulder third person kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't work that well. And the other thing that didn't work well for me were like the vehicle controls. I just felt like I was like banging around and crashing into things. And so for like a game that's got all these tooltips and feels like it's really trying to hold your hand through a lot of it, it seemed weird that wasn't also done that way. Like, if you're going to give me aim assist so that I always hit the stormtrooper, you're not going to make sure that I don't just crash into things left and right. Like, I don't know. Seems like a weird disconnect there.
Yeah, the flight in episode 1 was a little strange, but but I made a comment when I was playing. I was like, "Oh, this kind of reminds me of Starfield." It had a very similar feel to it because it was like I pointed my ship to a particular direction. It's like, "Oh, you want me to go there?" I was like, "Yes," and that was it. I was done. That was the whole destination. There, I was like, "Oh, all right, cool." So, well, it is what it is. But yeah, all right. Should we talk about our other thoughts here?
Yes, please. Let us move on.
Okay. Well, how long to beat says this game takes about 18 hours to complete. Just, golden path kind of thing.
Sure.
But 86 hours if you were going to complete the game. So
that sounds right.
You got a lot of content.
When I was playing that hour, I was like, it's probably 100 times longer than this.
Yeah, well, you're close. This game is xCloud capable. You can play on mobile, but you will need a controller. This game does use a lot of controls. It is also cross save and cross compatible too. So that's cool. It's good to have all that stuff. Any other tidbits you got here, Tom?
Yes. So I did a little research and I learned some interesting things. So this is the only game developed using Traveler's Tales proprietary game engine, which they called NTT. Entity, right?
Oh, dang it. They're so good.
It's clever. But they switched to using Unreal Engine after making this game because they had such a difficult time with their own proprietary engine.
The NTT was no good for thee.
Yeah, I guess not. I mean, growing pains, right? Like you develop your first proprietary engine, then you go to use it and it doesn't behave as nicely as something you bought off the shelf. And it resulted in a lot of delays for the game. The release ended up getting postponed a couple of times. And then it had a patch a month after it launched that was a like, we need to fix like major glitches.
Oh, wow.
So we are fortunate to have approached this game, far into the future from its launch.
Sure did. Yep.
Because we didn't really notice. I didn't, but it sounds like you didn't either.
No.
The problems that I run into are very like classic open world game problems.
Right.
Nothing game ending. Nothing.
Yeah, but I mean, just like CD Projekt Red has switched from their engines to now Unreal. Hey, Traveler's Tale is doing the same thing apparently. So hey, well done, and I can't wait to see our ray traced Lego future. So let's see how that goes.
It's coming. It's on the way.
It's on the way. Can't wait. So, Tom, we have to make a decision, though. Is this a game that we're keeping on our respective hard drives? Or are we throwing this into a galaxy far, far away?
And I hate to beat a dead horse, but you've heard me say this a few times. I was really expecting this to just be a retread of games that I had already played.
Yeah.
But it's actually a really fresh take and a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
The problem for me, and it also will not surprise you, is that I could tell that this was going to be a massive time sink.
Yeah.
Like tremendous. And there's other stuff I'd rather play. So this is something I think that when things are quiet and I have time, I probably revisit it. But at the moment, I just can't imagine spending even 20 hours on it. It's not, I don't know. It's to experience the Star Wars story that I know when I close my eyes, I can play it out in my brain. Like,
yeah, that's true.
I'd really just be doing it for the humor.
Yeah.
And it's childish humor. It's humor aimed for kids.
I mean, it's like a game you could probably pop in, if they're cooperatively, if you want to have some friends over and stuff.
Yeah. That seems like a good use for it.
Yeah. So, okay. For myself, like I mentioned earlier, my kids are obsessed with these Lego games. So I might keep it just to play some co-op with them, do a little family bonding and stuff like that, while, kind of showing them some of the ways of Star Wars. I don't think they really ingrained themselves into that universe at all, which is interesting because they're like kind of there with all the other Disney stuff that's there, other properties. So, I'll keep it and see what they say.
It's they have their Star Wars is Marvel.
Yeah, it's true.
Right. In the same way that generationally, there is a group of people whose Star Wars is Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Or Harry Potter. Right. Like their Star Wars isn't Star Wars. It's Marvel.
This is true. But those are our thoughts. Let us know what you think of this game. Follow us and say hello on Twitter at TC1H1D or shoot us an email at TC1H1D@outlook.com. Check out our next streams on Twitch at twitch.tv/1H1D. And if you're watching this on YouTube, send us a comment down below and, we'll try and respond here and there. But 1H1D is part of that QTV network. And if you like gaming podcasts and any other cool gaming content, check out all that stuff there because there's quite a lot. And it's at quitthebuild.com/network. Now, Tom.
Yes.
We got to find out what we're playing next, but we will be having a guest on our next episode. We're going to be having Kevin from Save the Game Media coming up with us and playing the Lamplighters League.
It's some massive alliteration there.
It really is. And I'm kind of excited about this game. This has been on my radar for a little bit. So I'm excited that we're going to talk about this game on our next episode. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into this one. And we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody.